Hey guys, welcome to the Drift Podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Travis.
And today we're talking with Jesse Streeter, who actually probably runs one of the best import businesses in the world, and he's kind enough to come on and have a chat with us.
Yeah. So welcome, Jesse.
Thanks. Yeah. G'day.
And we'll just get straight into it with a bit of an introduction about yourself to start off with, and then a bit about your company as well.
Yeah. Well, I guess I came over to Japan in 2003 because I liked drifting, and drifting in Australia at the time had pretty much no tracks.
Yeah.
And as you guys probably know, the cops aren't super keen on it. So
did they really know about it that
and
much in 2003 though? Or
they often said it was like either racing or doing burnouts.
Yeah.
Is what they
Yeah.
said when they caught us. But even back then it was defects and
yeah. Okay.
difficult. Yeah. Anyway, so I came over here with the idea to stay like 6 months to a year and suss it out, and I just ended up staying forever. Yeah, it was lots of fun, and I kept being, maybe next year I'll go back, maybe next year, and then just turned into never.
Yeah, right.
And as far as the parts business goes, pretty much straight away when I went to get stuff for my car that I bought here, like an S13, everything was just so much cheaper.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know how much I was paying for the parts back in Australia for my 180SX, and I'm like, there's no way. And so I looked at the just direct posted costs, and it was, back then it was almost half the price for everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? So I told my friends, like, we had it was the full lock guys back then. Well, they weren't full lock yet. When I left, they were just starting to make that group, and they started getting the parts for me because it was so much cheaper, and they told their friends, and it spread from there.
Yeah, right.
And that's pretty much where I'm at today.
yeah.
Just like kept going and going. Yeah.
It's funny how that worked, because it's like, I actually didn't know about you until a friend had told me about it, and then I actually had to go and find your website. It wasn't just the first thing that pops up when you search it.
Mm.
But yeah, absolutely everybody will tell anyone about it, and they've only got good things to say. It's
Yeah.
great. It's
Yeah, like I remember when I found out about you, it would have been about 07, I reckon. And it was literally just someone on a forum saying, yeah, just import it through Jesse Streeter. You just give this guy, just transfer him your money and he'll buy it for you and send it to you. I'm like, that sounds dodgy as.
Yeah. Well, ironically, I used to run totally on trust. People would say, I want to order this. I'd order it in, pay for all of it, ship it off, pay for the shipping, and then say, look, your part's on the way. Like, here's your bill.
Yeah.
And honestly, 95% of the people were really good, and it worked great. It meant the accounting was easy.
Yeah.
It meant I didn't have to worry about storage. I didn't have to worry about, getting a deposit up front, then waiting for that,
Mm-hmm.
placing the order,
Mhm.
sending a bill for the shipping, waiting for that, then shipping. So the whole process was heaps easier.
Yeah.
But, there's that 5%
Yeah.
that just, lost my license, crashed my car,
Yeah.
or just straight dodge. And on my margins that I still run, I haven't changed my margins to this day. It was devastating. One
Yeah.
non-payer would wipe out over 100 orders. So
Yeah. Yeah.
around, I can't remember what year it was, but I had to change to money up front. And
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that I guess a lot of people are like, you don't trust me. I've ordered so many parts, and I was totally sympathetic to that, because at the start I know how dodgy that looked.
Yeah.
Like, you can't send this random money and expect parts to come. So I could totally understand that, and so
Yeah.
originally I didn't run like that, but I hoped after, I don't know, it was at least 5 to 6 years of doing it. Yeah, it was money up front,
Yeah.
and that solved everything pretty much instantly. Yeah, the non-payers, just vanished after that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's it. Yeah. Well, I remember back when I bought one off you, like a while ago. This would have been pre then, because like I ordered like $300 worth of stuff, and you're like, "Yeah, man, it's here," and I'm like, "Oh, what?" But where do I transfer money? Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, well,
so.
like the other issue is, I guess, as well as, oh no, I've changed my mind or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
dude, I've already ordered it in. Yeah. So, I mean, in a perfect world, it worked really great. But yeah, like there's just those small percentage of trouble, and it just made it a nightmare for me. And I think I did lose a few customers over it. Like they said, oh, look, you don't trust me now. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's just too hard to say, A, B, and C have to pay, and this guy, because I dealt with him 3 times before, doesn't. It just makes it all too difficult.
Yeah,
definitely. That's totally understandable.
So how did you get into drifting in Australia before you even went to Japan? What was your introduction?
I've been into cars for a long time. I'm pretty old now. It was probably, I started street racing in Melbourne in about 93, I think it was, 1993. And that's pretty much all that was happening in Melbourne or Australia. I mean, you could do circuit work, but it was just so much money, and you need a race car. It was just way, like, I'm not that rich, and was certainly very poor when I was like 18 years old. And so I got into drag racing out at Dandenong, and that was great. I loved it. And that progressed into circuit racing, kind of. It was like just a grip kind of track days with an RX-7. I had an old 3rd gen. I think it's like a SA22.
Yep.
And I had that for about, I don't know, 6 months to a year, and it got stolen.
Oh, wow.
And that took a long time to build. It was a 13B turbo and made over 400 horsepower. It was a lot of time and money. I only drove it twice at the track. And after that, I'm just like, look, I'm overbuilding. I just want to drive.
Yeah.
And so I had a look around, and I was like, look, the 180SX looks kind of cool, and it's front engine, rear drive. I like that sort of style of driving, so I'll get one of those to try out on the track. And overheated the brakes straight away, and then cooked the clutch. It was like, it was all stock.
Yeah.
And one of my mates at the time had an S13 Sylvia. I think it was Trevor Dunstan, and Trav, was into drifting and being an idiot, and showed me some videos and stuff. This was back in about 1999 or 2000, I think.
Okay.
And that's sort of where I got into it, and we used to go out to Dandenong, to the industrial areas there, and that's how I started. Yes.
Yeah, nice.
No, that's rad.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah. The still didn't have a lot of money, so they went and stole a fire hose from a big supermarket or like shopping centre. Yes, borrowed.
Yes.
And you'd hook it up to the fire hydrant, and you could wet down the whole road, so it was like wet.
Nice.
So that was, you could drive all night. It was great.
I remember like some of my friends up here telling me about the old days. They used to do the same thing. There's like this 4-corner section, and on each corner there was a fire hydrant. They just like let it all out all over the road and drift all night. I'm like, I missed out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you went to the same place in the dry, it's fun and it's faster, but your tires are gone in like an hour or something. But with water down, you can go for hours and hours. Ironically, now I much prefer the dry.
Yeah,
just because it's faster.
Yeah, that's what everyone told me as well. Like, I used to only go rain drifting because I had an E86, and they're like, yeah, wait till you get a turbo car and you get to drive in the dry. It's so much more fun. And I'm like, yeah, look, you're not wrong.
So what was your first proper drift car then?
The 180SX, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I drifted with it, but I mean, back in that time, it was coilovers. People didn't even really know about mechanical LSDs. It just had a shimmed up Torsen diff. And that's about it. Yeah, it had like an exhaust on it, and otherwise just dead stock.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, true.
Nice. What about when you got to Japan? What did you have over there?
The first car I got was the S13, and that was had a mech LSD. I don't know what it was, some two-way.
Yeah.
Coilovers and a seat, and that was it for a long time. That was. I didn't touch anything with that, not even a turbo, for maybe 3 years, I think.
Yeah, right.
Mm. So like it was a drift car, but nothing special.
What were the cars like in Japan in that time when you got here? were they more high spec than say that S13, or were they
It
about
depends.
the
Like there was a lot of people driving back in 2003.
same? Yep.
Like when I went to one of the hot street spots in Osaka, there was I don't know. I don't like to exaggerate, but probably 2 or 3 thousand people, about 100+ cars drifting,
Whoa.
D1 cars coming up on like trailers. There was a few. What I really liked was the food stores, like the mobile food stores would come. And
Right.
so in
Holy
the middle of the
shit.
industrial area, there's like little food stores set up so you can get your ramen and stuff.
Yeah, that is
No
so good.
way.
I'd read somewhere about that, but
Man.
like, no, that is so cool to actually have that confirmed.
Wow.
Yeah, but I meant getting to the question. Yeah, with that many different cars, it was the
it was a mix.
range was huge.
Yeah.
like, so
Yeah.
from D1 spec, which is still, I guess, to today's standards, the D1 cars back in 2003 are near stock, but
Yeah.
they had turbos and built engines and cages and everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
down to like the kind of cars that I've got near stock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Far out. That's cool as.
Man, that's crazy to think.
Having
like,
food stalls set up on the side of the road.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's a lot of people.
And that was like every weekend, essentially. Then.
Yeah, Saturday, Friday, Saturday being the big night, and usually when the D1 cars would come, and the food stalls and stuff. But pretty much any night you could go out, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, there'd be people there.
Wow. Huh. And what was the cop attention like back then in Japan?
The complaints. Well, I got called in by the cops in about 2008 or 9,
Right.
but and found out that the Nanko area was really close to a bunch of really expensive hotels, like the Hilton and, geez, I don't know. Like anyway, a lot of the big
Yeah.
hotels are there, and they were getting heaps of complaints. Enough so that apparently the detective that I talked to said, it's the number one complaint in Osaka. And so back then, though, before they set up the anti-drifting rules and laws, they'd just call in the patrol cars. The patrol cars would come, and then it was almost like a scene from Fast and the Furious, like not quite as frantic, but everyone would jump in their cars and disappear to about 5 or 6 different convenience stores and wait like half an hour to 45 minutes and then just go back again. That would repeat like 5 or 6 times a night.
No way.
Far out. That's cool as.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Ridiculous. So those.
So I mean, when the cops actually rock up, they don't block anyone in or arrest anyone. It's literally, it's really late. You're making lots of noise. Please go home.
Yeah.
Be careful. This is dangerous.
Yeah. I know the thing over the radio. You hear it all the time over there. And the woo. Yeah.
So go home.
Yeah.
Being troublesome. That's it.
Yeah.
And they're still like that today. The patrol guys are generally really good. The patrol police are nothing to worry about generally. Yeah.
Yeah. We see it even at Daikoku on a Saturday night when they come and shut that down. They'll just like, please stop being a nuisance and shit like that. So so then business wise, how have you been able to stay in Japan for so long then? Because it's not easy.
My visa side of things was I came over on a holiday working visa. I think it's pretty much the same today, where Aussies get a 6-month working holiday visa. You can extend twice, so the max you can stay is 1.5 years.
Yep.
And then after that, that's it. It's a one shot, and you're finished. There's a bunch of things you can do. You can set up like a business visa, and you have to show you've got like $50,000 in the bank. You can come over on like media visas and student visas and whatever, but most of those have pretty heavy conditions. I ended up meeting my wife pretty early on, and so we got married, I think, a year after I came to Japan.
Oh, wow.
And so I was spousal visa done.
Yeah,
so that was how that worked for me.
Yeah.
It was easy.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because like I talk with like Andy at Power Vehicles about getting the visa, and they literally are year to year with their visa. They just don't know when they're going to get kicked out.
It depends. Like if it's a working like a proper working visa, like you can make up pretty much whatever you like. I need this staff member because the work they're doing is English, because I have 10 staff.
Yep.
And I've had a few in the past where they wanted to stay longer than the holiday visa, so we set them up with a working visa. And it's not too difficult. And unless there's some huge drama, they're pretty much not going to get knocked back the next year.
Yeah.
Like, you do have to reapply each year, but
Yeah.
it's just approved.
Yep.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because I think Andy really struggles with theirs must be a business visa that Andy and Emily have together. And like I said to him, I'm like, oh, why are you stressing out? And he's like, yeah, we might be getting kicked out. We're going to go sort our visa today. And they disappeared middle of Matsuri to go and sort that out.
I think that's more like a drama thing. I really don't think that. Yeah, if you've got the money in the bank and you can show that you've been doing business, and I'm sure he's been doing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like most governments. Yeah, we're getting money from you. Please stay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think a thing in Fukushima also with the tourist stuff that they're really pushing to bring tourists back into the Fukushima prefecture as well, and Ebasu's a big one for that area too. So I think that's really on their side as well. But
yeah, no, I think it's just dollars and cents or yen.
Yeah.
It's like, you've made this much money for us. You got this much money in the bank. You're not a burden on our society.
Yeah.
You're making us lots of tax money. Yeah, I'd be really surprised if you got knocked back.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah, true.
So basically, for anyone listening, marry a Japanese girl or have a lot of money, or both. So.
Or if you can find a business that's willing to sponsor you, you can do it that way too.
Okay, so they can just sponsor you.
Like I said,
year to year.
That's one of my staff that I had. At the moment, the current foreign or gaijin help that I've got on that helps me with mails is on a working holiday visa. He's going to go back in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
But if he wanted to, I could organise a working visa for him. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, where it's like a sponsorship rather than a holiday visa.
Yeah, that's right. But when you say sponsorship, I don't have to pay anything as far as my business is concerned. It's just I've got this business. I need him here because of whatever reason I want to make up, and that's the reason I can't have a Japanese person doing that job. And I haven't seen anybody knock back on that. It's just with Japan, it's a lot of red tape and hoops you got to jump through. And if you know the red tape and you know what they want to see and hear, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, true. Nice.
Did you know Japanese before you came over, or?
No, none.
Oh, wow.
I'm terrible at languages. I flunked out in French and Italian. I never did Japanese. That wasn't even an option when I did high school. And I hated any language. And when I came here, I'm like, I'll get by, whatever. And I'm still like, I've got enough. So I can have conversations and stuff, no problem. But I've never properly studied or done any tests or anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Interesting.
But that said, if you are keen on coming to Japan and trying to, integrate with drifting or whatever, you'll need Japanese.
Yeah.
There's pretty much no one speaks English, so it was definitely a bit alien when I came here. It's
a different time too. Like, there's no Google Translate back then as well.
Yeah, or the maps, dude.
Yeah.
Don't understand how bad the roads here are. There's no signs. Everything's in kanji. Most of the streets don't even have names, and so there's no Google Maps, dude. I had some friends come over. Ken Leong, I don't know if you know him.
Yeah.
They came over back in 2006, I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
And he goes, we're going to go out and check out the shops. Gone for like 8 hours. I got lost. On my way back. Google Maps. You don't know how spoiled you are. That's probably the biggest.
Yeah.
The translator, ironically, is not that great. You can kind of translate a little bit, but it's super clunky. You can't really have a conversation.
Yeah, I've done it through just text is okay, like the text to translate, but voice I wouldn't trust it. Especially Australian
even if you're doing it by text, putting in your own,
you got to know the right, you got to know the right words, to use, because American English as well. So you got to, like, that was the biggest trouble when I went to a hotel and I'm like, washing machine. washing machine. Like, I don't know what you're saying. I'm like, laundry. And they're like, oh! And I'm like, God damn it.
Yes, there's tons of that.
Yeah.
So even if it's in English, it doesn't work. Yeah, that's right.
Go for the next question. I did have something else to ask, but I can't remember what it was. So you only have one like Westerner working for you at the moment then?
Yeah, actually, I've got a Cuban as well, but
Okay.
he's here on a spousal visa.
Yeah,
He's
right.
one of the packing guys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So if people like wanted a job working for you, like what do they do?
Well, they can contact me and hope I got like space available, but I do get the question quite a lot, but
Yep.
really pay as a packing guy or what I can afford is not as good as what you could get being an English teacher.
Yeah.
And if you can sort of do that soul-destroying work, it's
Yeah.
much easier. It pays better. There's billions of schools around. You
Yeah.
can just walk in pretty much and get a job straight away. And while it's a bit dead end and not that interesting, it pays better and it's a lot easier work than what I can give.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, I could take on a foreigner for staff, but really speaking in their best interest, I think it's better if they go and do English teaching or something. And they've got more disposable income and
Yeah.
it's easier for them to get a car and, rent a garage and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Do the guys that work for you work long hours or what's the hours?
I do a lot of hours, but the business hours are strictly 10 till 6, Monday to Friday. And
That's
it.
pretty
So
good for Japanese
as far
hours.
as so for my staff, that's all they work.
Yeah. Very true.
I would ask you what the salary was, but I don't want to offend anyone. So.
Yeah, I don't know if they'd be comfortable with that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's
that's
interesting because like we do a couple of episodes on some Japanese companies we've done. It was Drift Tengoku, I'm pretty sure, and
Jun Performance, yeah.
and Jun Auto, and they have on their websites listed the salaries that
Okay.
the Japanese people get paid. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Well, like their own staff. That's
Yeah, because it's like for the it's I've noticed on nearly every Japanese website for like especially car related stuff. If they have a job application, they'll just put up every type of job that is there,
okay. Right.
and then they'll have the salaries for it. Even if they're not looking for staff, essentially, because like they probably update their website every 10 years. But
Yeah, they're pretty bad like that, eh?
yeah. But they don't get paid much, especially women. From what I've noticed, really don't get paid much, or aren't even allowed to work at them. So,
Well, I don't discriminate like that.
Yeah.
But I do have like 3 office staff, which are girls. So
Yeah.
like they don't do the packing and stuff downstairs.
yeah,
But yeah, no, it's all the same.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you worked as a what before you started your own business?
I came over here in 2003 and set up. Well, I tried to set everything up so I could do drifting in Osaka and just go. And so to make sure everything was set, I sussed out what I could do. And one of the jobs, English teacher, the cliche sort of job for a foreigner is they advertise. There's some schools that advertised internationally. So they say, look, come teach in Japan, blah, blah, blah. And they actually had an interview and all that kind of stuff in Melbourne. And so I could go to like their seminar / job interview thing and suss it all out. And they say, yep. I say, yeah, it looks good. And they say, yeah, we need a teacher. And they say, where do you want to go? And at the time, the school was called Nova.
Mm-hmm.
And Nova had, I don't know how many hundreds, possibly thousands of branches across Japan. They were huge.
Wow.
And so you could pretty much pick any city or town you wanted and go there. And I said, oh, look, I want to go to Osaka. I didn't say for street drifting, of course, but that was the city I wanted. And they said, yep, no problem. We've got, like I think 40 or something schools or more in Osaka. So that's not a problem. I'm like, great, sign me up. And I quit my job and moved out of the apartment, set everything up. And I think a week before I flew over, they said, here's your details. This is where you're going to be working and stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I saw the name. It was Kochi. I'm like, I had no idea about Japan. I'm like, okay, that must be some sort of suburb or something, I guess. And I looked on the map, and it's on a completely different island, about 5 or 6 hours away from Osaka. I'm like, okay, like I pretty much dropped everything in my life to come over and do this now, and now I'm not even going to where I want to go. I'm like, oh man. So initially when I first came over, I was like, I had very low expectations. I was like, oh look, if I don't like it, I can pack up and go back in a couple of weeks. It was an experience and whatever. And when I got to Kochi, it sort of turned out okay. That sort of it was such a sort of isolated town.
Yeah.
A few of the big guys, and there's like 6 of us in the town out of about, it was 50 or 60,000 people there.
Right.
And one of the big guys, I think he was like, 200 centimeter tall, and he was pretty fat. And he walked down the road, and people would be taking like video footage of him with the flip out phones. Yeah, it's almost like all of us were some sort of celebrity kind of thing. It was surreal. It was so weird. And then, when I went to the drift shop there, I said, I wanted to drive, and they were kind of like totally mind blown. Like first the gaijin coming to the garage and then saying, I want to drive. They're like, what? Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Yeah, nice.
That's cool.
Yeah. So anyway, as far as coming over, yes, it was came over as an English teacher and got my foot in the door that way, and taught English for a long time, for maybe 4 or 5 years, I think, at least.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was towards the end. Nova actually went bankrupt. They had some managerial stuff up and expanded too much. There was like one intersection in Osaka which had like 4 Nova schools on the one intersection, like one on each corner. It was retarded.
Wow.
Anyway, they ran out of money, but at the same time, my business was to the point where going into work for them was costing me more money in sales and business. So it was like, that's fine. Like, peace, I'm out.
Yeah.
So that's when I finished up working there.
Yeah, and then just moved straight into full-time Streeter Corporation?
Yeah, well, it was already pretty much full-time. Like, it was going into school was really hurting me because pretty much it was like do as much as I can before school, then come back and just straight away into, business till like midnight or more. It was like, the schedule was a bit too hard.
Yeah.
So it was welcome, the fact that Nova was the one that went under. And the funniest thing is then I got all these government payouts and stuff, oh look, you're unemployed and you should have been paid this and whatever. So while it was really hard for a lot of the Nova teachers, it was like it was winning the lottery for me. It was great.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, rad.
Bring up that next question for him.
Do you have like a drift team or group that you used to drive with all the time or anything like that?
Not really. I did have groups of friends that did teams and stuff like that, but I never really, went for the sticker or whatever. And after 2008, when I got pulled into the cop station and interrogated and stuff, I learned you don't do that. You don't want to be known as part of a team or have team stickers on the car, because they actually the drift law, or the anti hooning law, I guess, whatever
Japan's
you want to call it,
anti-hoon laws
is based on gang activity.
Yeah.
So if you say I'm in this team, it's like a self-confession that I'm part of a gang. So they use that against you straight up.
Yeah, far out.
Never thought of it like that.
Yeah, true.
Right. Huh.
So, like Australia has, like their regular patrols, and you said Japan have their regular patrols. Do they have like the equivalent of highway patrol or road policing command over there?
They do. They've got like heaps of different divisions, but all of them are pretty good as far as leaving modified cars alone. I've been driving ridiculous cars on the road here for a long time. Like the 4-rotor FD is just a mess. That thing is so loud, and it just stinks of fuel and throws massive flames out. Like little kids on the side of the road have their fingers in their ears, and it's just dumb.
Great.
And the cops don't do a thing. Just nothing. let you go. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
But that said, at the same time, if you run into the drift police, like the division that takes care of like that sort of gang drifting or whatever they want to call it,
Mhm.
yeah, it's bad. It's really bad. It's much worse than Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
right.
Are
Interesting.
they pretty easy to steer clear of, or are they pretty like
On the
sneaky
ball.
about what they do?
Yeah.
They're very sneaky, but at the same time, really easy to stay away because they're brought in when there's enough complaints. So all you do is just don't go to the highly popular areas where there's a lot of people driving.
Mhm.
Like that's what happened to my friend Hero a couple of years ago now. I think it was 2 years ago he got caught drifting at there's a place called USJ, Universal Studios Japan,
Yeah.
and there was a really popular drift spot there where
Oh,
it wasn't anywhere near the size it was back in the early days, but probably 50 cars,
wow. That's
couple
still
hundred
quite a
people
lot.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got enough complaints, so they send out the drift police, and they don't do a bust like send in a helicopter and 20 cop cars. They hide out in nearby buildings that they've organised with the owners. You know, oh look, can we have this room for these nights or whatever,
Mm.
and set up cameras and just record everything. Don't arrest anyone. Don't let anyone know what's going on, and then go through and process each arrest one at a time.
Wow.
And the laws here, I'm not sure what you'd say, like the human rights, I guess, is really bad as far as the police can arrest you on suspicion
Yeah.
of or on an ongoing investigation for anything and hold you for a month with no charge.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine, you go, oh gee, a month sounds tough, but if you factor in, what about your job, your family,
Yeah.
like, your normal life, you're stuck in jail, you can't do anything. So the normal person will lose their job, like just like not even in charged yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their life's turned upside down. And so what the cops do is then use that power to say, who's this person? What's their name? How do you know them? How often do they come here? Blah, blah, blah. And basically get people to rat everyone out
Wow.
and just go through one at a time. And the process usually one or two people at a time
Hmm.
and can take up to 6 to 7 months to process all the arrests for a one night recording. And that's the way they do it.
Huh.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So is that the reason why a lot of the people that do street drifting wear the face masks, is it, to try and hide their faces?
Yeah, well, it's all done on proof. Like, it's very, very strict as far as the human rights goes, as like being able to lock you up for a month with basically just whatever they want. But at the same time, they don't like having arrests fail. Their
Mhm.
percentage success rate, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it, or what they call it, is extremely high, like 99 or something
Yeah, I've
percent.
heard that about
And
Japan. Yeah.
that's pretty much because they'll only arrest you if you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
Yeah. The
if once
prosecution
you're in,
rate's really high over there.
yeah,
All
once they got you done.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's not good if you get called up by them and you have to go into the cop shop. It's usually good night, Irene. It's all over.
Yeah.
Leave the
I
country,
was
Tom.
extremely lucky. Yeah, back in 2008.
Yeah.
What do you think made it lucky, if you're allowed to say? Like, what do you think let you not be in that situation?
They were filming at Kamome. There's like a drift spot near Nanko, which was really popular. Probably seen a lot of videos of that place. And it happened at the time, like this was, most of the big busts that really killed the street drifting was back in about 2003, 2004.
Right.
And then you never had the thousands of people and
Yeah.
food vans and stuff there. It was, it dropped to maybe 50 to 100 cars at most after that. But it still happened, and they do a bust every couple of years.
Mhm.
And in 2008, the drift spot that they were monitoring was different to them. It's kind of like a huge industrial estate where the blocks are about, I'd say, 600 meters square. They're huge. So the intersections are miles apart. And all of the beginners, or most of the people that were still driving that hadn't experienced the breakdown, like the cops sort of lockdown of drifting back in a few years earlier, were using a different, smaller corner. And so the police set up their cameras and stuff on that corner, and I happened not to be driving that corner. I parked there because that's where everyone else was parking, but I drive about 500 meters up the road and drift on a different corner. So when I got called in, I'm like, oh, can I see the footage? Like, what's going on? It's like, yes, we got you. I'm like, okay, well, can I see it? And yeah, they were bluffing. They didn't have anything of me. And yeah, there's like, yeah, well, what are you charging me for? And the strangest thing is afterwards, they did like checkups. Like I had to go back into the police station to say what I was doing and where, was I still drifting, and if I was, where, like at the track, of course. But yeah, they acted as though I was found guilty, but yeah, they never actually charged me with anything. My friend at the time, Lawrence, I don't know if you know him, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Giannis, he does. He got done. Yeah, they got him. He was drifting up on that corner, and yes, told me like they had to strip him down and take photos all over his body for tattoos, and yeah, it was like he murdered someone. He had to do a week of interviews / interrogation, I don't know what you want to call it, talking about his parents, mum and his dad, and how he came to be how bad he is today, and all this rubbish. Yeah, it was. They just take it ridiculously seriously. Yeah.
Crazy.
And they're searching for tattoos and stuff because it's supposed to be a gang crime. And the gang crime's like Yakuza, and so you've got tattoos and stuff, and it's just there's a serious disconnect between real gang crimes and drifting. But that's to put I think the reason they put it under that category is so they could put the heavier penalties against it as well.
Yeah, there's like a deterrent.
Well, they do the same in Queensland as well. If you're driving in more than 3 in a group, you're considered a gang as well.
Yeah, they use it mainly for motorcycles, but yeah, it can be classed under anything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So.
And what are the fines or punishments?
Ben, what are their fines and their punishments? Considering we couldn't do the podcast on Sunday for someone getting pulled over.
Yeah, I had a lovely run-in with Road Police Command. Turns out my license expired 2 weeks ago and didn't get any notifications about it. So yeah, next time I get pulled over, I get my car impounded for 7 days. Sweet.
And then what happens after that?
Then they take it for 90 days.
And then what happens after that?
Then they crush it. Yeah.
Yeah, nah. I think the first offence here, if all you've done is street drifting, like for the cars registered and you've got your license and everything, is a 500,000 yen fine. On today's AUD, that's about 6 or 7 grand, I think.
Yeah.
And 2 years no license.
Right.
But,
that's a long
second
time.
Offense,
that's a long time.
Yeah, it's pretty long. Yeah.
So,
but second offence is when it gets really bad, and you go to jail for up to 2 years.
Wow.
Far out. So with like those fines and everything, do they have like a payment system, or do you have to pay that totally up front?
They've got payment systems and stuff, cool. So you can pay in installments. And talking to the investigators when I was there, because I don't know, I try and suss out what each cop's like and sort of, be friendly if they look like they're going to be friendly. And he sort of told me some interesting info. And one of the main things they thought the fine was good for was to get the young person that doesn't have money to sell the car, and then that's it. So even after they, even if they've got a license, they can't drive anyway because they don't have a car, because they had to sell it to pay the fine.
Yeah. Right. True. Right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Go for the next question. That's definitely an interesting perspective on how they're doing that.
So, what's your favorite track in Japan?
I don't know. I like Bihoku, I guess, is really fun. It's a little bit far. It's about 3 hours away from me. I've driven Meihan a lot, which is a similar course. It's just a little bit shorter, so a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But that place is good too.
I definitely got to see like a lot of the old videos from Lawrence review at Meihan, which was really cool. But some of the OG stuff, I loved it. So how often do you get to drive Bihoku, or is it not open all the time for drifting?
It's pretty much open all the time. You can go anytime you want. The business and distance makes it near impossible. So I think I drove there about 3 or 4 years ago, and then drove again there a few months ago, and then had a car, like the subframe broke, so I got
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Car's great.
Yeah. So yeah, no, like while I do like the track, I've probably only driven there like 5 or 6 times
Okay.
the whole time I've been here.
Okay. Is there any tracks over there that you want to drive one day?
Not particularly. I really like mountains.
Yeah.
It's where I have fun.
Yeah.
So for me, that's sort of, I don't know, can't really explain why, but that's, for me, it's a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
So, mountain drifting, is it starting to die off now, or is it still sort of happening but a lot more secretive than it used to be?
It's more secretive, yeah. It's definitely getting less and less. Like the whole car scene in general, people are, like the younger generation, just aren't interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cars coming out in Japan also reflect that. There's nothing that exciting
The
for
new
sale
Skyline
anymore.
got literally put up today, and that actually looks kind of cool. It's
didn't
going to be a 400 horsepower VR 35 DETT or something like that.
Okay. I
It's-
didn't even,
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
even
it
know
literally got
about that.
announced today. So,
Well, hopefully there'll be something for me to drive in another 10 years then. But
yeah, yeah. Well, the
But,
starting price is only 43,000 for it too. So,
Okay.
yeah, no, it actually looks like they're kind of going back to their roots after, because the owner of Nissan, who came from Renault, he got done for some fraudulent shit. And now the new owner he's literally said he's releasing 13 new lineups of cars over the next 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so we
Oh,
may even
wow.
see another Sylvia or something like that potentially
that'll
too.
be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm down
Yeah.
for that.
Mm.
So yeah, how many sort of locations without any names is there like around you that you get to drive? Because mainly in Australia we only have about 2 in Queensland that are sort of far enough away from everybody to drive consistently.
It depends how far you want to go. The further you go, the more courses there are that you can drive. But I don't even know all of them. 20, 30 more. Yeah, around
Far
a cycle. There's a lot. Yeah.
That are still active, you would say?
With the mountains, you usually go out with a few friends and drive with them. So there are people using them, but it's not like in the old days where you go to a mountain and you can't find anywhere to park and
Yeah.
it's difficult to drive because there's people in the way.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
Do you find Japanese people out there still actually street drifting?
Yeah. Like if
Yep.
you go to the spots, it's like a fairly high chance, especially on a Saturday or so. Yeah, that there'll be somebody there.
It's not just the foreigners that are going over there to do it. Luke
no,
thinks
it's still-
oh, you're right, you go.
There's still a fair few people out and about. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Luke thinks that there is far more than 2 in Queensland.
Yeah, but you can drive all night, not just go for a drive and do a few runs and then leave. I don't like setting my stuff up to do 3 runs and then go home.
Someone also wrote, can we ask you to drive the quad rotor RX-7 more, please?
I would love to. I'd love to. Want it fixed already. I've been waiting forever for that thing. It's definitely trying my motivation and patience, that's for sure. It had ignition problems, and it caused a side seal to fail on the number 4 rotor. And
Those bloody apex
that was
seals.
back in March last year, I think, and I've been waiting for an engine rebuild ever since.
Yeah. Is that car was built by the same person who built Mad Mike's car for his Japan Formula?
Yeah,
Drift
well,
stuff?
that car was Mad
that is
Mike's
actually
car.
that car. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
And then Formula Drift needing lots of power meant that 500 horsepower wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to make it twin turbo, and when they went that way, they built a whole new car.
Yeah.
And they had that, it wasn't built for Mad Mike. It was actually a demo car for TCP Magic years before then. And it just turned back into a demo car and did just car shows and stuff. And when I went to TCP Magic and said, look, be able to build me one, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's too much. He said, but I've got this the D1 spec, whatever you want to call it, demo car now.
Yeah.
And because it's built and done, it can do it a lot cheaper. And I'm like, if I'm going to do it, that's the only way I can do it. So I jumped on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Right.
hasn't sort of. My expectations were pretty low. I mean, I've had rotaries before for like 5 or 6 years, and had really good run with them. But I had no sort of delusions that it was going to be super reliable. But wasn't expecting this kind of delay
Yeah.
on rebuild. I must admit, I'm a little disappointed.
Because all the parts are genuine through Mazda, but when you're building them, I'm fairly sure.
If it's a 2 or 3 rotor, the 4 rotor,
Okay.
unfortunately, it's
Right.
got eccentric shaft, which is custom. The balances are all
Mhm.
custom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turns into not quite that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, it should not have taken this long to build, but I don't know the details on exactly why it's taken so long.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
And Luke Fink said, "Oh, young man, you have much to learn." I'm guessing he's talking to you.
Yes, he's talking to me. I'm keen to drive.
He has plenty of spots you can spend all night at, and once
There
his
you go.
B35
Winning.
is done, he'll take you.
Where are we at?
If you were, it's hard to answer. I know this one, but say someone is theoretically listening to this podcast and they want to theoretically go and watch some street drifting in Japan, where would they theoretically go?
It's so hard to say. Like, there are hot spots, but because they're hot spots, if the cops
Yeah,
have cracked down on it
yeah,
over the past few months, that you could go there and there'll be no one there.
yeah,
But I think they're still driving USJ a little bit.
yeah,
But I think most of the spots you want to go to watch are going to be industrial like that, because if you go
Okay.
out into the middle of the mountains, it's pitch black and you'll see one corner and that's
Yeah.
about it, if you're lucky.
Yeah.
yeah.
But in the industrial estates, it's all lit, and so you can see a lot more.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'd recommend going to maybe like USJ, maybe Universal Studios
Yeah.
Japan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keen.
Tips for people.
So, considering you've stayed in Japan this long, what is your most favorite thing about Japan and living there?
It's all very different, so it's hard to say what's good or bad. Is like as in better than Australia. Most of it's just different,
Yeah,
but definitely cops, I guess.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
didn't get too much grief in Australia. The police, I was mainly really lucky,
yeah,
but I did constantly feel very nervous in Australia and felt what I was doing was totally socially unacceptable, and I was a dirtbag, and
yeah,
if cops even saw the car, they're going to find me and
Yep.
defect it and hassle me, and
Yep.
here I can do whatever I want.
yeah.
It's really, I mean, I'm not doing like donuts in the middle of a schoolyard or anything, but just
No.
to get in a car that's technically illegal and not drive like a dickhead and go somewhere, I've got no worry at all about being hassled by the police, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really like that freedom.
No, that does sound very appealing.
Yeah,
That's
that's
yeah.
pretty much Ben's issue.
that's my whole life. Just driving 10 minutes down the road to work.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I copped a lot of that.
Yeah.
And doing nothing wrong, going under the speed limit.
Yeah.
And, like, pull
Yes,
you up.
that's the worst part. You won't even be
Where's your
speeding.
blow-off valve? Blah, blah, blah. Just like,
And then you're like, it doesn't have one. Like, it makes choo-choo sounds.
that's what I said.
Yeah,
Defected me for like something else.
Yeah.
Non-padded steering wheel. Yeah.
yeah, that's still standard.
That
yeah.
that was like the other night, man. They pulled me over and then they're trying to get me for bucket seat in the intercooler. They're like, here's the mod plate paperwork, and then they spend another 10 minutes trying to find something else. And then the disappointment when the 100mm roller didn't hit anything. They were like, oh, oh wait a minute, your front tire pokes a little bit. We'll get you for that. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, right. There's always something. They'll get
Yeah.
you for something. If they want to get you, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I remember back in about 92, I think it was, I didn't even have a car. Like I borrowed my mum's TN Magna to go and see the street racing,
Oh,
like the drag
yes.
racing.
That's fine.
in,
Ben wasn't even
Dandenong.
born in '92.
And
Well, it depends on what part.
I was parked in like this sort of strip shops, it's like off the road, and they had their own little sort of parking area, like fish and chip shop and stuff.
Yeah.
And the cops came, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to worry. I'm in my mum's TN Magna. I'm not racing, obviously. I'm not even driving. And the cops gave me a ticket for parking in a can't remember what the terminology was, but effectively it was like parking in an area which could cause an accident. So like if you park on a crest
Yeah.
of a hill or something,
Yeah.
technically there's no parking sign, but they can fine you for that. But I wasn't even on a public road, but they know that, I was 18, I wasn't going to take it to court. Here's your fine, fuck off. I'm like, that's just, I really, for Australia, there's heaps of good things about Australia, but the cops, their attitude like that, the fact that they can and more importantly do fine you for stuff like that, I hate it.
Yeah.
No, totally can understand that.
I completely understand that. One of the guys posted a comment on our Instagram and he was asking, what do you actually miss the most about Australia? And would you ever come back?
I've been gone a long time. It's 2003 till now, so it's that 15, 16 years.
So you haven't even
visited,
come
or?
back for a holiday?
I come back, I've got kids now, and so my parents want to see their grandkids, so I go back for a week at the end of every year.
Yeah.
And I can't put it into words how strange it is. It's like, it's all familiar, but not.
Yeah.
Everything's different. Like you see all these new Falcons and Commodores, which, I never got to see released. I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
Like billboards with, celebrities, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Just dumb stuff like I flipped out when I went to McDonald's and they had the big touchscreen order panels. I'm like, what's all this? So it's, for me, going back is more a weird adventure than sort of finding something I miss now, because everything's moved on from when I was in Australia. But I guess if I was to miss anything, maybe just food, I guess.
Like meat pies.
Yeah,
and chocolate milk. God
like
damn, that's all I want to eat when I'm in Japan. I really want a meat pie and I really want chocolate milk.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I'm left with. Where I'm like, But at the same time, if I'm in Australia for like a week or two, then it's just I wish I could have this food or that food kind of thing.
Yeah.
No,
that's cool.
Yeah.
How hard is it to sustain constant drifting in Japan? Because we've had a few people talk about this before, but they've also got other jobs that aren't car related. So
I think it's probably similar to Australia. It's just money and motivation. If you got money and you want to do it, you can do it. Like I've been out a bit this year because of like just breakages, but if you've got money and you want to do it, you can do it pretty easy. There's definitely a lot more track days if you want to keep it legal. And the fact that the cops don't hassle you too bad with a technically illegal, modified car, you can register pretty much anything and just drive it to the tracks. You don't need a truck, really. And so if you wanted to, it's just fuel, tires, and entry, like track entry. And most of the tracks are about 10,000 yen for the day. You go through probably 2 new pairs of tires, tank of fuel or tank and a half of fuel, and highway costs. Like most of the highways here are tolled. So depending on how far you have to go, it'll be 1,000, 2,000 yen, 20, $30 in tolls. And that's about it. So it sort of more comes down to how much time and effort you want to put into actually going and doing it, and if you've got the money to do it. But you could go out and drive every weekend easily if you wanted to. There's an event on at a track every weekend.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Luke just said he feels like Japan is more expensive now for drifting than before.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of I guess parts and replacement shells and stuff. Everything's getting rarer and more expensive. I remember I crashed my S13. So embarrassing. Like the first night out, hey, look, I'm the foreigner drifter, yo, and out in Kochi, and straight away into the wall. I'm just like, oh my god, busted the front headlight and lower control arm and stuff. And S13 parts back then, it's like 2,000 or 3,000 yen for a Brooks headlight, square style headlights. And I think a couple of weeks ago, I sold. They were new in box. So they were mint. It was like 90,000 yen. So like $1,200 more. It was like expensive. So that side of it, yes, but I think the entries, like the track entries, are pretty much stayed stagnant since the entire time I've been here. Fuel hasn't gone up too much. Tires, if anything, have come down in price. Like probably, I think the introduction of Taiwanese and Chinese tires maybe 8 years ago or something
Yeah.
made it heaps cheaper. I used to always have to go used. I couldn't afford new.
Yep.
And then when Kenda and all of those crappy tires came out that didn't chunk up and was still only, $150
Yeah.
or less each, you could just go new. So I don't know which part he's saying is more expensive, but for me,
He says tires, parts, entry are all more expensive in Japan than Australia now, he thinks. He went to Ford
Could
Japan
be. I don't know
tracks.
Australia at all.
Yeah.
I don't know Australia at all. For me, I use cheapy tires because not only because they're cheaper, but because they don't break stuff.
Yeah.
Like you get big grippy tires and you end up breaking gearboxes, clutches, diffs, everything. And so you sort of have a gentleman's agreement with your group of what tire you're going to run, and then it makes it all close.
Mm-hmm.
And it sort of someone isn't walking away from anyone down the streets and stuff, and it's still fun.
Yeah.
And so most of them are using Kendas, and last time I looked, they were like 8,000 yen each for a 265/35/18, which is like a bit over $100.
That's pretty good.
I don't know. Maybe it's gone up a little bit, but the tires haven't gone up too much. Meihan entries some of the hosts because it's owned by a track owner, and then a host will hire the track for a day, and then get people to pay for positions so that they can then pay the track owner. And usually it's 10,000 yen for the day, and I think some people are sometimes, like some of those hosts are charging 11 or 12,000 yen, so maybe it's gone up slightly over the last, 5 years, but since 2003, like that kind of inflation, I'm like, yeah, I can live with that. But parts, for used especially, they're getting rare, they're getting more expensive, so that's for sure. Relating to Australia, I don't know. I don't know what the costs are there.
Yeah.
But I don't really do that much track drifting in Japan anyway, so I'm not super expert with that.
Yeah. Now Luke just said like 235 17s are $50 a tire, or 18s are about 60 a tire in Australia.
Cheap,
that's cheap. He said he made a good point. He was in Japan recently and he couldn't find anything close to that in Japan. I think is that maybe because he's not able.
Yeah, no, I think he's just hammering home the fact that the tire prices are more, and if they're that cheap in Australia, definitely, especially with the AUD rate at the moment, it's $50. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 yen, and you won't find tires that cheap here. I don't think.
Yeah, unless like you get some crazy deal on Yahoo. Like I sometimes get some good deals on Yahoo for tires, but you got to order like a shitload of them to make it worth it with the shipping. So yeah. Well, you can read it. You're fine.
Yeah. So overall, what is your thoughts on drifting in Japan overall since you've been there? Because you've probably been there the longest out of anyone that could actually speak English. So what's it like watching it have been at that super high point to where it is now? Through the drifting cops and everything.
I guess I'm pretty selfish in that even with competitions and stuff, I just don't care what someone else thinks.
Yeah.
I do it because it's fun. I like that moment, like that split second of time when you ride on someone's door, and it's fun. Like that's why I do it. And so whether there's 1,000 cars or whatever it was ridiculous back in 2003 with D1. Like the spectacle, as far as just a random going and rocking up, was amazing. But as far as purely drifting goes and driving, I don't care. So while it is a bit sad that it's not like that anymore, if I've got someone that's able to drive reasonably well that I can drive with 4 or 5 cars, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So I'm as happy now as I was back then.
Yeah.
But as far as the competitions and track driving goes, I think it's pretty similar. It is seeming to turn a little bit into a grip and power fest, but I think that looking at the sport, that's always where it was going to go, and trying to stop it from being that is really difficult. And if you like competition and you like trying to be the best, it's just a game you have to play.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
So get your LS or your 2J 1,000 horsepower on and get the biggest tyres on you can fit and, yeah, drag race the first corner. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Nah.
What about like as far as like parts pricing? Like you are literally probably have like a crazy database essentially, even just in your head of what prices were for parts compared to what people are paying for now. You don't deal with cars, like whole cars at all?
No, like, yeah, I don't like dealing with containers and
Yeah.
the slow shipping. There's no tracking and there's clearance that needs to be done on the other side
Yeah.
by either an agent or you need to expect the customer to sort it out with their sort of agent. And it's too much. I guess when I don't have full control, that's when things tend to go bad, and I'm busy enough. I don't need to do that.
Yeah, that's
fair. Definitely.
So I don't do cars, but parts. Honestly, the parts prices have stayed the same
Really?
or very similar for 15 years. Yeah, the actual buy price of new items here hasn't changed much. In saying that, though, over the past 3 or 4 months, I've seen a few companies jumping up huge amounts. I think Splitfire has bumped their prices up 20, 30%.
Wow.
I saw D-Max have bumped their fender prices up about 20%.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a small incremental little bit by little bit. It's just like, no, we're changing our prices, bang, done. But that said, stuff like, Nismo injectors, if I look back, it's the same price pretty much as it was in 2003. Yeah, nothing's changed. And for me, it's kind of weird because I go back to Australia and the coffee's like freaking $8 in some places. I used to buy a meal for that much. Like, what the hell? Yeah, it's like so when I hear, like, if an Aussie's like upset about the pricing on parts, I'm like, hang on a minute. Like, what about the prices locally? Like your rent, your salary has gone up. Like the inflation in Australia is insane.
Yeah.
Well,
do you just like off the top of your head know like even just how much it is just to buy like a normal Japanese house in around where you are?
Where I am, it's really difficult to say because if you buy an old wreck like I did, this is my place is a 2-story ex Shimano bicycle factory. It used to make it used to make the brake levers and I think the crank or something, I don't know, bits and pieces for the Shimano bicycles.
Right.
And so the first level's all decked out with 3-phase power and air lines and stuff. It was really convenient for me. And then the second level is more like a Japanese house, so I can live on top of where all of the work's done.
Yeah.
And then have 1 or 2 of the rooms devoted to office space.
Mm-hmm.
But this place, for example, it's pretty small by Australian standards and a really odd shape, which also meant it was much cheaper. It was 15 million yen, which equates to maybe $200,000. And that was about 10 years ago, I think I bought this.
I don't know what house
and the price
would be around then.
has gone nowhere.
It's
the same now as what it was 10 years ago.
Right.
That said, there was a farm next door that they demolished, like they just flattened it. It used to be like a rice paddy sort of thing, and they just put a whole bunch of small apartments on it. And each one of those apartments is about half the size of my place, but it's all nice and new. And they're about 28 million, I think they sold for each. So they're a lot smaller, but they're new. The houses in Japan are kind of seen as a car almost, in that you it depreciates with age. You pay a set amount for the land, and then depending on the condition of the house, it's plus minus. And my house is actually negative equity. If you bought my place when they valued it, it's minus 1 million yen for demolishing the house. Is what I'm like, yeah, thanks, man. So that's what the value of my actual living area is, minus 1 million yen. Yes.
And so how long, if you were, because you're outside of Osaka?
In South Osaka, it's sort of the cities and suburbs and towns and stuff. It's weird here. They don't have a definite break like they do in most of Australia. Like, there's like one town and then, in Australia, you travel and there's just nothing. There's farms or
Yeah.
just blank until you hit the next place. It's not really like that. Like you can drive from here to almost Hiroshima, like halfway across Japan, and there'll just be houses and cities and buildings, and it's just like an imaginary line where one starts, the next sort of
Yeah, I noticed
start.
that on my first trip when I was driving around. It's just like crazy. Like in Australia, you'd just be driving along and then there'd just be nothing. But in Japan, it's just like city going up mountain, then city on the other side of the mountain and going all the way. Like it was just non-stop. It blew my mind.
Yeah, and it's like, so, and you're left going, well, where are we now? Are we in the city we just, started from? We're in the next city now, or the one after that? Yeah, so technically my address is Sakai City, which is South Osaka.
Okay.
And it's in Osaka Prefecture.
Right.
So there's Osaka City in Osaka Prefecture, and so that's about 20 minutes north from me is Osaka City.
Okay.
And Sakai City is like just south of Osaka City, but still in Osaka Prefecture.
Right. So would you say that your house would be like outskirts of that city, or would you say it'd be...
Yeah, it's considered, for a Japanese person, it's considered country.
Okay.
Like, yeah, we had like literally a farm next door kind of thing.
Yeah.
Until they bulldozed it, but yes. So yeah, it's
That's
like
still
I couldn't
pretty
afford
cheap.
anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I came here because it was cheap. Like I
Yeah.
chose this place because of the size and the price.
Yeah.
It's like any other area, I guess. If you get a big place in close to the city centre, it's serious money.
Yeah, well, it's like $1 million for a place that's like 15 to 20 minutes from the city in Brisbane, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's crazy here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous here. It's getting out of control.
Yeah, but anyway, back to cars.
Back to cars. We have a question here. Is that for anybody heading over? Is there what not to do whilst in Japan, or something that you shouldn't do that is not a common sense thing while you're over there?
One that I can think of straight away is a lot of people say, I've got this address, I'm going to go and check out this workshop. And some garages and workshops are totally cool with it, and they go, oh, wow, foreigner, please come in, and they're super nice.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are like, who the hell are you? What are you doing here? Are you a customer of mine? I'm busy. Go away. So, I mean, I guess if you don't care, you can sort of just gouge and smash it and go, and if they get offended, too bad. But don't expect every garage or workshop you rock up to unannounced to be cool with you just sort of crashing whenever you feel like it, because some of them get pretty weird. I've heard some funny stories about 3D6, but we won't go into that.
Right, interesting. So I was just about to ask, like, is it the more well-known ones that are easier going, do you think?
Generally, I think the more well-known ones will be easier going because they will have experienced it more. But with 3D6, I can only assume that they got it so much that they're totally over it.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like, please don't.
Yeah.
And they're quite polite about it, but if you just rock up, you get like Haraguchi ducking out the back door and running away and stuff. It's weird.
I even noticed that at what's that R7 place? Ariyamayama. They were just like, nope. just ran out the door as soon as I came in. So, but they had like a full showroom and everything that you can buy shit
it's like,
from.
I'm here, I might want to buy something. Like, what's the deal? Yeah, but they like, no, I can't speak English, don't want to deal with it. I'm not giving you a tour.
Yeah.
Maybe some guy came before you and was a complete knob and wasted heaps of their time. You don't know, but generally speaking, they are very much, I'm a car shop. I'm here to fix your car.
Yeah.
What the hell are you doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess as far as unintentionally stepping on toes, that's probably the number one thing I can think of.
Okay.
So if you are keen on going to a shop, I'd suggest, like mailing them or on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah, or
and
getting a Japanese friend to call ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and say, look, is this cool if they come?
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah, true. Oh, do you have any more to add to that one?
Did we go through everything on that list?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Right. Did you check Facebook as well? Because there was a couple of questions on that. What cars do you have now?
I've got a few too many, especially for here where it's space. I think currently I've got 8.
Oh, wow.
Or four proper, like, toy cars. I've got the FD4 rotor, which, has got the engine balance issue. I've got the EG6, which has also an engine issue. It got rebuilt because I wanted a little bit more power, but I don't know what they screwed up, but it had chronic blow-by, so they need to redo the engine on that. I've got the 180, which has got a electrical gremlin, and I've just changed everything. The Power FC is currently with the Pexi to make sure, like, they're checking over it to make sure there's no issue there.
Yep.
And after that, it's going to be a complete harness
Mhm.
pull and rewire the whole car. So
Yeah.
that's out for a while. I don't know where the mystery shorts come from, but that's super annoying. The S13, which I just got back, that had a broken subframe
Mhm.
that failed at Bihoku after one lap. And they're the four toy cars. I've got a Serena SR20 turbo 5-speed van for
A
picking up.
non-toy car?
It's well, I don't. I'm getting a lot of heat from staff on that one. They don't like driving it. It's too loud, and people look at them stupid, and it's a bit low, so it scrapes on some. Yeah, so they're going, get a highest, like just a stocker car, and that may have to go, unfortunately, sooner or later. But at the moment, that's the work van. And I've got a couple of snowdrift cars.
Yep.
I've got the Alto, which is so beat up, it's finished. So I got another snowdrift car, which is cheap now, because when you try and get one in winter, more people are looking for a cheap K car to smash up, because that's actually really popular, the snow drifting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, just Murphy's Law, where when you want one, there's none there. So I scored a cheap one just recently, and so I've got it's called a Nissan Pinot, which is just a rebadged Alto.
Okay. Yeah, right.
And so that's those ones. I think I got one more. The Daily is a Golf. Pretty embarrassed to admit that.
A
But yes,
golf in Japan, right? How does that go getting worked on?
I got that because the missus was super keen on high tech. We had a Honda Fit before then, and she really liked the keyless entry and all that kind of rubbish. And so, and it was auto. I hate auto.
Yeah.
And I said I got it, and I tolerated it for about a year. No, I'm not longer than that. Now it was probably 2 or 3 years, to be fair. And I was just over it. And I said, look, no, I need more power, and I need a manual. I know it's the Daily, but I can't handle it anymore. So the next car had to be a manual, and it had to be, I don't know, decent amount of power, like maybe 300 horsepower at least. And Japan didn't make anything. They have the STI, which I didn't like that much. It was a bit big.
Yeah.
At the time, they had an FK2, the Civic Type R, which was only released here in 100, I think it was 100 units or whatever they sold here. So I couldn't get one of those even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then the Golf, which was small enough to fit in the garage space I have downstairs, and was manual, 300 horsepower, or 290 or whatever I think it is. And yeah, I sort of reluctantly went, well, crap, if it has to have high tech and I want it to be fast, Japan doesn't have anything for me. So I went ashamedly Euro. That thing's going as soon as the warranty's up, or before that. It's going. I'm already worried about what that's going to cost me in the future.
Yeah.
So they're all cars.
No, they're too big.
Yeah, there's no space. Like even a Civic, the FK8, which I've got my eyes on for the next car.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 15 to 20 centimeters longer than the Golf.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, it's going to be really tight squeeze in the garage space.
Mm.
And so yeah, it's tricky.
That's funny. So the snow drifting with the K cars, is that actually like a really popular thing? Is it?
Because there's less roads you can do it on. When the snow season comes around, it's more condensed, because like there's so many places you can go here normally for grip driving or drifting. The people that do it are spread out. Like there might be 4 or 5, 10 cars at any number of locations. But for snow drifting, it's a lot more limited. It's probably 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah.
So when you go up there, you can find 20, 30 K cars all smashing into each other. It's pretty fun.
That sounds like a spectacle.
I didn't get into it until really late. I think
Yeah,
it was
right.
only 4 or 5 years ago I started doing it because I was like, front wheel drive, K car, this is just stupid. And I went out to
And it is.
experience it, and it was just so funny. I was exhausted from laughing. Like I ran out of breath laughing so much. It was just so dumb, and it was heaps and heaps of fun. And yeah, I just sort of opened my eyes to the fact that the car doesn't have to be cool. It doesn't have to have lots of power. It's just the moment that you're actually driving it. If it's fun,
Yeah.
you're winning, and
Yeah.
these things were hilarious.
Yeah.
I've been doing that ever since. It's like heaps of fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd have to say that honestly, the most fun car, like where I really had a good time in, was actually a Honda Civic when I went passenger in that on Minami at Ebisu. That was in the wet. That was fucking nuts. Like honestly.
What's a side break?
Yeah. One other thing I did want to ask about. I'll ask this one first from Luke Fink before we lose it. He asks, "Are you still Australian enough to enjoy a burnout, or have we fully lost you to Japanese?"
I have to say, I was really not Aussie as far as that goes from the get-go. Like, because I did drag racing, so I'm from, like, my roots, I guess you could say, are from the burnout and dickhead crowd in Dandenong. But I never really got into burnouts. I was able to do it. I had a daily back then. Like some of my cars in Australia were pretty stupid. I had a 120Y with a 265 Hemi on nitrous with a 4-speed as my my street drag car. So that was too much for a daily driver. So I had the exact same car painted with because I couldn't get the exact same color, so I had to paint it with a paintbrush and just swap the plates between the two.
Oh, yes.
And my stock 120Y could do a burnout in the dry. So I've never had in the wet. But so I've never had that much, I don't know, enthusiasm or I don't know what you call it. Like I just thought burnouts were always pretty weak. I'd never yeah.
I think you might have to hang out with Luke when he comes over to Japan. I think he'll teach you a little lot.
There's definitely a few bogans here. I get to experience pretty dumb shit here. If Luke comes close to the dumb crap I've seen, I'd be legit surprised he's not in jail in Australia. He's anywhere near close some of the shit I've seen go down here. It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
That sounds hilarious.
But the only other
I
thing
guess being an Australian podcast, I probably won't get any Japanese watching it. So yeah, like for example, a person I know, we're going snow drifting,
Yep.
and we're all doing a long. You always drive flat out, doing like this slow, probably 80, 100k on the load roads, which is fast for the low roads. They're like probably a 40k zone kind of thing. We're still 2 lanes wide.
Yeah.
And we're flying up to like this guy with a lollipop, saying stop, and like they weren't slowing down. I was number 3 in the queue, and the lollipop guy had to dive off the road. I'm like, geez, what are you guys doing? Like getting a bit picky here. And as we went past, I realised it wasn't a random like roadworks lollipop sort of thing. It was a cop. It was a police breath test sort of unit, and they were trying to stop. And my mates nearly run the cop over, and like he literally had to dive onto the nature strip to get away from it, right? And I'm like, fuck, we're in trouble now. I was number 3, and we're in these K cars. They're slow. I'm like, man, where's the patrol car? It's going to be after us. It's going to come after us, and it never did. I'm like, wow, okay, whatever. We get to the mountain, we start snow drifting and stuff, and they made no mention of this. And this is probably the bit that blew my mind. It was just so whatever for them. They nearly run over a cop. He's dived off the side of the road, and when I say, like, wasn't that cops back in like where that happened? And they're like, oh yeah. Don't care, don't even talk about it. I was that mind blown. Yeah, so burnouts and sort of doing that kind of shenanigans. Yeah, the dumb crap I've seen is like out of control. Like another one was
level.
like a cop. Yeah, the cops come, and because the patrol guys are so nice. Like I give them most respect. Like I really appreciate the fact that they're not like Australian cops. So I don't try and stir them up. I don't be disrespectful. I'm just like, I'm out of here and just hightail it.
Yeah.
But some of my mates are like bait them out into an intersection and then start doing donuts around them.
That's some Tokyo drift shit.
Their mates, and then block the cops in. So there's, two cars front, back, and sides, and the cops can't get out. And they think it's hilarious. I'm like, dude, you're going to turn it into Australia. You don't want to do this,
Oh,
that's probably why they've got such heavy fines and stuff. But like the crazy stuff I've seen here just doesn't compute.
Some real Japanese bogans.
Be shot in Australia, they'd shoot you.
Yeah. Far out. That is insane.
The only other thing that I wanted to ask about that sort of was, you see, like, it's not like really drifting related, but it is car related with the Hondas, and like Osaka Loop Line is so famous for Hondas racing on it. Is anything like that still around, or is that just dead?
It is still around. They got it's weird. They did implement stricter rules, but I don't know if it was because of the racing done on the loop line, but there's a police station underneath the loop line,
Right.
and they've literally got an elevator for a police car. And so they hear the loop line guys on it, they can send a patrol car up an elevator onto the raised loop line and try and stop it.
Wow.
Yeah, but they usually only do a couple of runs and then leave because it's they've got so much surveillance there.
Yeah.
And just such high risk. They also do under the loop as well, so they race on the low roads under the loop line. But when they say race, I don't know. I got into grip racing, or I don't know what you want to call it, about 2 years ago with the Civic when a lot of my mates went into jail and got busted in the last round of drifting, and I didn't have that many friends that were still drifting. I thought, and I had a few friends that were doing the grip, and I thought, oh look, I have a lot of fun in the snowdrift cars. I'm going to get a Civic because I was of the opinion it's the driving that's the fun bit. It doesn't matter what the car is. I'm pretty anti-Honda. I always thought, lawnmower and front-wheel drive, like that's not a real car. Screw that. But after going in them, they're a lot of fun. Yeah, it's good fun, and they go really fast.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely guys out there that I'm not going to catch.
Yeah.
And in the mountains, it's 10-10s. It's they go really fast. But in the loop and on the low roads, when you've got a lot of traffic, it's more about. It seems to be more about the Basozaku style.
Yeah.
Driving around in a group, making lots of noise, having fun, and not as much about actually being super fast.
Yeah.
I mean, they still go fast. Don't get me wrong, but it's not 10-10s. It's more of a let's be annoying and make lots of noise kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is there in Osaka? Is there anything like Daikoku in Osaka where you could just go on a Saturday night or something?
There are a few parking areas, but nothing like Daikoku Futo. Yeah, it's more arranged meetings, and the parking's a lot smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they do actually get a big meet, it turns into a real headache with not being able to park somewhere. And and so if you come here to just check out a hard park scene in randomly on a Saturday night, it's not going to be the same.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough.
True.
Okay.
So bit off drifting. How is the actual grip driving over there? In the mountains and all that. Because we don't get to hear much about it because it's not what we're into, but it is definitely a cool side of it.
Is it getting bigger, smaller, or same?
Sorry?
Is it getting bigger or smaller or the same as well?
I only got into it really recently, so I've got no idea on the size of what it was like before. So I don't know if it was ridiculous like it was with drifting here. But I'd say there's probably more grip guys in certain spots than there are drifters.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the locations I drift at, they also have guys doing grip. And when we go there, our group's maybe 5 to maximum 10 cars.
Mm-hmm.
And the grip guys seem to always have at least 10, sometimes 15 cars there.
Yeah.
So as far as getting smaller, I'm not sure. But as far as amount of people doing it, I think there's probably more people doing grip. I think also a factor of that is a lot of the people that do dumb stuff on the road are really young. and don't have much money, and so driving their, they use Fit. Like, it doesn't have to be a Civic; it can be like a Honda Fit. I think we call it a Jazz in Australia.
Yeah.
Or just like economy cars to go racing in or to drive fast in. They're usually pretty slow, but the fun is that if you've got a bunch of people with all similar powered cars, still, even though they're technically driving slowly, you're still on the limit, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think there's a lot more, because you can't really go and get, a $1,000 or $2,000 Silvia and drift anymore. They're expensive.
Yeah.
So I think that stops a lot of the 18-year-olds and stuff getting into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. No, that's cool.
I do remember that someone also asked on Instagram, where does the name Jesse Streeter 94 come from? Obviously 94 isn't your birthday like most people probably assume.
I'm so old, man, and like whatever. This is going to be kind of funny answer. I had Facebook, and someone posted something on Instagram, and I was so retarded. I didn't know I could just view it without having a login, and it kind of asked me to log in, and I'm like, oh, what? But okay, well, I logged in, and then it's like, you got to create your account. I'm like, oh, whatever. And it says, I think at that time there was still some kind of connection with Facebook and Instagram. It said, I'll use your Facebook ID or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay. And because there was already probably like 50, there's always, it's like Gmail. It's like Jesse Streeter, there's probably 400 of us or more around the world. It was taken.
Yeah.
But because I think it's like an alias or whatever, I can have Jesse Streeter as my name on Facebook, but the real code or whatever it is on Facebook's actually Jesse Streeter 94.
Right.
And when I created the Instagram account, that's it. Jesse Streeter 94, and I never changed it.
Fair enough.
That's the story of Jesse Streeter 94.
Uh,
Occasionally I get hey, cool man, you're the same age as me. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, that's the part where you just agree with it, man.
For 2 years before that.
So if people want to get in contact with you to order some parts and get them shipped from Japan, how do they do that? Give yourself some plugs and stuff.
Just email. It's annoyingly, that's another thing I can actually bring up now. Instagram, I don't know. Again, maybe old man creeping in here. I don't know, but Instagram's changed their direct message system, and I can't turn it off. It's got quick reply, and I can ignore it, but that doesn't really help when someone's, I messaged the dickhead and he never replied, so ignoring it doesn't help. Yeah. So I still have to go in and go, please send me an email. Please send me an email. It says in my Instagram, please no DMs, send me an email. It's got the email address in the bio. It's got an email link or button in the bio. So just shoot me an email, and either me or another staff will get onto it ASAP.
And that's jessestreeter.com, is it?
jessestreeter@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, jesse@streeter.com. Yeah. Gee, I don't even know my email.
Yes. And if they want to look at your website, it's jessestreeter.com, is it?
That's right, yes. Yeah. Although I'm not trying to be, but it's very Japan spec, where I haven't updated or looked at that for a long, long time. So,
I think that's still the same as what it was like 10 years ago.
It still says the email, so you're all sweet.
Yeah. And just to give people like an overview of what you do, you just you export parts from Japan from, is it mostly Yahoo Auctions, or is it also...
It's probably still 50-50. We get wholesale rates from pretty much all of the manufacturers here, and generally that works out cheaper than what they can get locally. That's the same as since 2003, where I found the parts here, they just cost less, even after shipping to Australia, America, Europe, whatever.
Yeah.
It comes in cheaper. So there are the odd items where they're starting to pick up their game. Like I think some of the distributors of work wheels have finally got like prices which are semi-competitive, but pretty much everything else is still way overpriced. I don't want to knock the local industry, Australia or America or whatever, but pretty much they're paying someone like me to organize a container to send to them, and then they have to make their markup on it.
Yeah,
they can't compete. And so if you go coilovers, seats, rails, pretty much anything will come in a fair bit cheaper.
Okay.
And then there's also like the Mercari or Up Garage or
Yep.
Yahoo Auctions and stuff. Like Up Garage has got Kruber that do their agent service, and they're not too bad, but our shipping prices are cheaper. So, and we're better with helping with import tax and that kind of thing. So the same item through Kruber will usually end up more expensive than get the same item through us. So yeah, as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
That's about it. Yes.
Is there a limit to like size of parts that you can usually send? Like,
there's no real limit, but the catch is that once it gets big, it gets really expensive. One killer that we get asked, 20, 50 times a day, bumpers, aero, bumpers, aero. Everyone wants bumpers because the killer is they